Welcome to Salvage, a podcast for conversations with artists about the repurposed materials they use in their art practice. Please enjoy my conversation with Rebecca McGee Tuck. Rebecca and I had an IG Live conversation back in April of 2024, which really became the impetus for this podcast. So I thought it would be appropriate to start season 2 and the new year with a proper interview with Rebecca. Rebecca is a fiber artist, sculptor, and a dedicated ocean activist. Her artwork serves as a visual narrative, transforming discarded materials from our throwaway society into environmentally aware works of art. In her practice, Rebecca is rooted in the reuse of discarded materials, creating found object fiber sculptures that resonate with sustainability and environmental consciousness. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here. And, it's this whole podcast really it's your fault.
I'm sorry. Or you're welcome.
Exactly. When we had that conversation, and I think it was you who asked me to have an Instagram live. Mm-hmm. And I immediately said yes. And that conversation it was so fun. Like the time just flew. And after you and I talked and so many people responded to our conversation, I was like, who can I do that again with?
Isn't that funny how those things happen? It was a catalyst to this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I did two more, or maybe I did 3 more Instagram lives. And then I was like, let's see if this can go further. So here I am, starting season 2 of Salvage. So thank you.
So glad to be here.
Yeah. And now I get to really ask all the questions. And that's the fun part. Yes. Okay. So question number 1.
Yes.
Were you a kid artist?
Yes, I was. My my Aunt Fran was an art teacher. And so every Saturday morning in my whole childhood, my mom dropped me and my sister and my cousins off at my Aunt Fran's art class. And she was a big inspiration to me. She was an artist from, she was very active in the 50s, and she had a lot of surrealist influences with artists that were around Connecticut at the time, which is where I grew up around Waterbury, Connecticut. And she even won a big E prize. So I was really impressed with her and so I kind of wanted to emulate her when I was a kid.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so lucky that you had an aunt like that. Wow. And what kind of art did she teach you on those Saturdays?
She taught us interesting things. She taught us classic drawing and things like that. But then we would do things like crush up eggshells and make eggshell mosaics, paint them, and we would do. Yeah. So she was giving us classical drawing. We would draw the face with the lines on it, where your eyes were separate, and tell us the dimensions of the face while you were drawing.
Right.
But then she would also have these more sculptural projects that were really collage type, more collage than sculptural. That were really fun and interesting.
Wow. And then you went on to get your degree in art as well?
I went to Mass College of Art in Boston in 1990, and then I didn't finish it. But that's when I actually went back to school as a 40-year-old, and that's when I finished my BFA at Mass Art in 2019. And it was so far between. It was a 25-year hiatus that I think I was named the only transfer student that was from the same college. I transferred through time.
Oh, that's funny. And what was your major? What for your BFA? What was your concentration?
In the beginning, it was performance art. So it was called it was called Sim Studio for Interrelated Media, and I was focusing on performance and show production, like producing other performance artists.
Like
And then when I
stage
came back,
shows?
no, like performance art shows, like a mixture of like I guess music and film and video and just like improv and things like that. Nothing that was like stage, but more, Laurie Anderson or more like performance arty
Right.
stuff.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Wow. And wait a minute, I just saw on your Instagram post, now you're going for your MFA?
Yeah,
That's so
so I
exciting.
yeah, it's very exciting because when I went back to mass art, I switched my credits to sculpture
Mhm.
with and then I thought that, and I just started living my life as this, artist that had her BFA, and I was doing all the things and making things, and then just started thinking, because my daughter's going to be in her senior year of college, I was like, I don't know, maybe I should just do it. And they're opened up at Clark University, which is in Worcester, Massachusetts, has a low residency program, which the real pull for me actually was that they have 3 residencies as part of it at Mass MoCA.
That is
And
so exciting. When I saw you post that, I was like, oh my God, how cool is that? I love that place. That's such a great
so
music.
if I complete everything, then my thesis show will be at Mass MoCA. And
Oh
that
my
was like,
God.
yeah.
Well, so okay, so sorry. I jumped a little too far ahead. So your BFA, you switched from performance art to sculpture.
Yes.
And what kind of sculpture?
A lot of sculpture. Well, I think I had mentioned I'm a welder, so I do I
That's so
like to
cool.
do structures, and then but I'm a fiber artist. It's hard because I like so many things. I really like if you know the artist Lee Bonteque. Like my favorite artist is her. She's an Art Deco artist from like the 1950s, 60s.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she was a woman amongst a bunch of men she was welding and using canvas and fiber that she was attaching to it. And like just those two, the fiber and the metal just really spoke to me,
Mhm.
and it kind of inspired me to want to make structures with fiber attached. So like
Uh-huh.
more fiber sculptor.
Will you continue in that theme for your MFA then? And
Well,
how long is that program? Like,
it's 2 years plus your thesis afterwards. So it's really two residencies a year, one at Mass MoCA, one at Clark, and then again Clark and Mass MoCA, and then the thesis will be the next season. So people, and so I don't know what my focus will be. I think that's what my shakeup is. I'm like hoping to, I mean, I know my aesthetic, I know what I like materials, but I want to figure out what my next thing is.
I am, I do not have an MFA and I don't really know what entails in getting an MFA, but will you actually be taking classes in certain subject, or is it going to be more like studio time with reviews by professors and critiques and all of that?
We'll have the super details next time we talk, but what there is critical studies that I will be, so there's a lot of reading and writing
Mhm.
and papers and all that fun.
Okay.
And but we're in a 10-day residency and we're doing all the critical studies like and critiques and condensed.
Mhm.
And then during the course of the year, I'm doing my work in my studio here. And
Oh, okay.
and then I'm reached out to by, this is just from what I've talked to other students
Mhm.
about, reached out to by mentors, and we have a group and we talk. So there's some in-person meetups and some Zoom meetups, and
Oh, okay.
then meet again in June for another 10 days.
That's so exciting. So it's not like you're going to be going to class every day or anything like that. So it's very varied.
It's
Wow.
very self-motivated, and I feel like I kind of trained myself into that during the pandemic, so I can self.
What did you do in your 25-year gap between your degrees?
Well, I had a family and I stopped. I have three kids. I have, a 32-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 20-year-old. So, like in
Wow.
that time, I was busy familying.
Yes.
But
Okay.
I was also a florist, and I also did like the craft fair kind of jaunt where I was making small garden um, trellises and tchotchkes that I was selling at craft fairs.
Oh, okay, cool. So you remained arty crafty in between. And yeah, mothering is certainly an arty crafty endeavor that I can relate to. So then after you got your degree, that's when your real, I guess, what we would call a real artist career began.
Yeah, the reason why I started at the time I was is because my kids were in like high school and late middle school and out of school. So I had more time to devote to that. And honestly, I was a dance mom for a little while, like a Irish
Oh,
dance
me
mom.
too.
Yeah. My daughter was Irish dance. And so I was so good at like finding the things for like just organizing all that sort of thing that and then when the pandemic was happened, she wasn't able to dance anymore. And I kind of took that dance mom energy, I think. This is just my assumption, and like organized my art life with it.
That's awesome. Right away started working with repurposed materials, or was that something that kind of happened during your BFA studies?
Um, I guess I grew up kind of in a family that was like I guess you can call it a Yankee family. Like we used everything. My father fixed everything. He was a jack of all trades, so we there was no new buying all the time. So a lot of things were repurposed for other things in our life. Like
Mhm.
I don't know why I can't come up with an example right now, but but just that like my mom mended clothes, and like we just didn't buy a lot of new stuff because there was, the reuse of it, that just made sense. That's just how it was.
Right, right. No, I can
And
understand that. Yeah.
so I guess when I started making art, again, like with sculpture, I was trying to figure out what materials to use. And, and my aesthetic is more maximalist. And so just welded sculpture didn't just wasn't tasty enough for my brain, I guess. So I needed some color and some textures. And so whatever was around, really, and honestly, like I said, the pandemic might have pushed it forward because I really was forced to like find whatever was around.
Mhm.
So I think that was clearly when I was using beach debris in my work, but then I was just going to the beach all the time and collecting at that point. And I was like, why don't I use this material? So kind of just, I guess I'm cheap with buying materials.
That's okay.
And there's so much of it that like there's a never
Yeah,
ending supply. And then it's
exactly.
a challenge to figure out what to do with it.
Right, right. So were you, I guess, an environmentalist before you started creating with beach trash and all of that? Would you say that you were, or did
I
that?
would say that my mom was a hippie, and we always were like composting, and we were always, we're practical. So I know that through my life, she's always encouraged us to use things that were, less invasive on the environment or whatever.
Mhm.
Um for products for cleaning or anything like that. So it's always been in my head, but it's really just what really I think put me over the edge was seeing with my daily beach walks and seeing just how much trash I was finding, and how like just how eroded the beach was getting in this particular beach I go to. And so it made me curious and join on to more environmentalist groups and sites. And
Mhm.
visions, I guess.
And I saw that somewhere in your environmental practice, you wound up speaking to legislators or in the state house or something. Can you tell me about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So I start after collecting a bunch of debris on my own, I ended up finding myself wanting to like join a group that was doing it on a bigger scale.
Mhm.
Uh, so I could figure out what to do with the stuff I wasn't using and or just how to help more. And I joined Surfrider Foundation, which is a international group that does actual beach cleanups. And I started doing the beach cleanups with them. And at one point, they were asking if anyone wanted to, and I was going to the meetings and all that, and writing letters, and
Writing
but
letters to whom?
to legislators about different bills. Like they were a very organized group where they would tell you the bills that were going up for like extended producer responsibility bills or like just plastic bottle bans and all that.
Right.
And so you would end up doing writing letters to your people in your in Massachusetts, my Congress people or my senators, and then in I think it was 2022, they
Mhm.
had asked if they were seeking out people to go and talk in Washington D.C. On behalf of the what they were supporting. It was Surfrider Hill Day, and so we were all going to talk about the issues of pollution and erosion that were in our states. So I was one of the 4 people from Massachusetts. They chose to go to Washington, and I spoke in front of, at Elizabeth Warren's office, and I went in front of like Ed Markey and like all the Massachusetts representatives,
Mhm.
and because I had a different point of view than because I was actively like seeing my angle to talk about was the actual debris that I was picking up and
Right.
finding.
Right. So did they give you training to speak about this or are
Yeah,
you
we had we
natural?
yeah, no, we had a baseline of I mean, we figured out how we had a spiel, we had to do like a 2 minutes or we
Okay.
had to go a 5 minute, and we just had to have some information in case it was asked. But pretty much I wrote my story, and then just through a group, we kind of are talking back and forth. We whittled it down to like a cohesive story, that pitch, I guess you'd call it a pitch,
Mhm.
that, and we went from room to room. I think we had 8 meetings that day where we each
Oh,
one in
wow.
our did the pitch to each of the offices.
Would you say that there were any concrete results from that?
I would say in Massachusetts, we have kind of an easier um, group of people to talk to because they were all agreeing with us and on our part. After talking to some of the other members, there were some more difficult states that were getting less heard.
Mhm.
But then we follow up afterwards, and then I was able to do it the following year. The following year was on Zoom instead of in person.
Right.
Just do it every other year, kind of. It wasn't. It was just the way it was, and so I had a kind of now I had a repertoire with the people who were in the office, so it was more comfortable and more of a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's so cool. That's very cool. I can't say that I belong. I'm an alumni of the Beyond Plastics classes, and they do training every now and then on how to raise issues, how to reach out to your legislators about the extended producer responsibility bill and stuff like that. But at one point they were running um, speaker training. And I unfortunately missed out on that because, um, well, because life, but whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I really that's something that I would be very interested in taking because I feel like I have a lot of knowledge in my head about all of that. But I don't. I don't feel comfortable speaking about it yet, but maybe that's just a matter of practice. So
It is. It has to be a matter of practice
yeah.
because I'll tell you, I used to black out before I went in front of a group of people to talk, where I
Oh
would
my
talk
God.
and I would talk, but then afterwards not remember anything.
Oh,
And it got smaller and smaller. And then when I got up there, I was in because I actually went in front of the State House in Boston,
mhm.
where I had to do testimony, just me in front of all of the
Oh my God.
legislators. And that one was a little bit, that was, so I brought a prop just to, which was a bag that I had that was made of woven plastic bags.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I kind of did the same talk, but this one was for the extended bottle bill in Massachusetts, getting rid of the nip bottles
Uh-huh.
and things like that. And I think that once I got up there, I just convinced myself over the course of time that I'm excited to say this information. So why would I be scared? I want this, just be excited. So I don't know how it changed, but that's what I feel now is excitement when I
Oh,
talk.
that's so cool. That's interesting. Along the rack line. Now, first of all, until you came to speak to my repurposer collective, I had no idea that what a rack line was, or that actually, I mean, I knew what it was. I just didn't know that it had a name.
Hmm.
So thank you for that education. um, but did you started collecting materials along the rack line, which is that just so for people listening, it's a sort of like the tide line where everything gets pushed to shore. I mean, that's just
Yeah. So
in my
it's the,
improper language.
yeah, no, they, when the high tide goes up to the highest bit, and then as it recedes back, it leaves whatever it pushed up during the incoming tide. And so that line of debris, which is usually salt marsh hay, seaweed, trash and everything, it kind of gets left, and then you could see it as a physical line
Right.
going down the beach. Some beaches more than others. Some are just shells, it's all different.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, I don't live next to a beach, so I don't and I'm not much of a sunbather, shall we say. So I don't go to the beach very often, but when I do, it's inevitable that some beaches I'll find some trash and some beaches I'll find very little trash. Um, so is that something that you did as a kid or, through with your kids and just kind of happened to just start realizing that there was more and more trash as you were walking along?
Yeah, well, I've always walked that rack line, although I didn't have the word for it. In fact, when I was little, I thought it was the wreck line, like it's like a boat wreck. So that's what I kind of called it until I learned that word. It was actually a teacher of mine in Mass Art, Venetia Dale, who said you should use that word um, as like a theme for some work, and so she kind of put that into my head, and so then this is what I've been using. But I, as a kid, we would walk that because we would go on vacations in the summer down to the shore, and I just know that of my father, he always just would pick up stuff, and it would just sometimes end up like on the wall of his shop. He had a blacksmith shop, and or he would make it into something else or reuse it.
Mhm.
So it was like a fun scavenger hunt, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Uh, the scavenger hunt, of course, changed now, but because I don't know that I would have noticed trash as a thing. I just remember there being, well, anyway, I just remember there being more trash on the streets like when we were kids, but I think I might have not noticed it as a problem until I got older.
Right. Yeah. And it perhaps just grew over time, and then all of a sudden, as an adult, you realized
Mhm.
it was.
That's
Yeah. So what were some of the first things that you created with the plastic that you found along the rack line?
Well, most of the time it's not really all plastic. It's all marine debris and rope and line, fishing line. There's
Oh,
plastic too. There's balloons. I'm more drawn to keep the rope,
mm,
and I'm more drawn to keep the tarp that falls over, like the fabric materials,
oh,
although
okay.
I do keep other things. But my favorite kind of thing to get are like I just had these here because I was working with them, but this is an old fashioned, this is an antique one, but like the colorful ones are now, it's a bait bag. And bait bags are,
Oh, is that
they're
like
in
for
like,
lobster or something? Or
yeah. So you put the chum or the fish or the whatever you do in there and you hang it in the lobster trap.
uh-huh.
And these are the easiest things to come detached and wash in. So I find hundreds of them.
Wow.
And I think that kind of the genesis of some of my early sculptures that I was doing with them was walking with these bags. And then as I go, filling it with the trash.
Oh,
And then when I had like this filled bag, it was a cell or it was a part. So then I would end up sewing them together
uh-huh.
to sculpture.
That's so cool. Wow. And so you do a lot of weaving now with that rope, right? You just had a residency at the Whaling Museum, is that right?
Well, it's a national park. It's the New Bedford Whaling National Historical Park. And
Okay.
yeah, it's a big long name. But yeah, it was for 3 months last April, May, and June. And I had this studio there where I dedicated the time to do two things: to make a large form marine debris woven tapestry,
Hmm.
and also to have like community small weaving classes with the ocean debris
Hmm.
to create a bigger piece that I would sew them all together, which is what that is in back.
Yes, those wings, and I saw those on your Instagram too. So did you do beach cleanups as part of that residency, or did you just, have your debris from your previous cleanups to work with?
Well, I didn't organize them from there, but I was working with other groups like um, Mary Lou Nicholson from Be the Solution for Pollution. She organizes beach cleanups in that part of Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
And then Laura Ludwig at the Center for Coastal Studies, she actually had someone deliver a bag of debris that they picked up on the beach to New Bedford because they were traveling through. So on the lawn of the whaling museum, I dumped it out and sorted and shook things free and left it a little bit to clean from the rain.
Oh, wow.
So
So wait, did I see a whole big pickup truck full of rope, or was that what that was? I remember
that
seeing
was
it on your
another cleanup.
Instagram.
Yeah, I've been doing so that was the Greater Boston Harbor Island cleanup. That was all there's a lot of harbor islands. Some of them are state parks and some of them used to be like dumping stations for Boston.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a lot of debris and the Center for Coastal Studies did this week-long cleanup of the harbor islands. I went on one of the scouting missions to see where all the debris was with them, and they had maybe 50 volunteers, and so there was boatloads of debris coming in from like 100 years ago
Oh
until
my
like
God.
yes. So she does an amazing job doing all that, those cleanups of like stuff that nobody wants to do, out
Right.
of sight.
Yeah. Like heavy duty physical work and disgusting at the same time.
Sure. And a little bit dangerous. You have to be aware that you have to have your tetanus shots and
Oh
like
gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot of rusty uh, nails and such there. And you're walking in unknown kind of places without walkways or.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. And thanks to all of that, you have so many more art materials.
That's true. Yeah. Although, that's one of the questions I get from people is like, how do you continue to have the materials? And I think that I just I have options for just by reaching out to groups now, even though like my favorite thing to do is to pick it up myself
Hmm.
but now that I'm doing some workshops with this, I can't keep up by myself, just collecting myself. So I'll reach out to places and I will go travel for old rope.
It's like me and plastic bags and plastic packaging. People are like, oh, they keep out ruling things. You'll wind up without any materials. No. I
No.
think it's going to be a very, very, very long time before that happens,
Yes.
if ever. I am very curious about your sculpture monster. That
Yeah.
thing was ginormous. And actually, I think when we first talked at the beginning of April of 24, you were working on that still.
Yes. So the
How did that come about? And where is it now?
where are they now? So Sculpture Monster was a collaboration that the professor of sculpture at UMass Dartmouth, my friend Stacy Savage, she invited me as an artist in resident with sculpture and sustainability. Also invited me, the UMass Dartmouth sustainability department, to collaborate with this woman, Mary Lou Nicholson, that I just mentioned before, that does beach cleanups. And she, over the course of a smaller period of time, collected 30,000 mini alcohol bottles, or nip bottles. I don't know what they call them here in
Yes,
Massachusetts.
I've heard the name nip bottles, but they're these little tiny plastic
Airplane.
alcohol bottles,
Yeah.
like the kind that they would have on airplanes ages ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then she wanted to have I was given the task of trying to figure out some sort of sculpture that can be made with it, that could be shown or performed or walked through. This New Bedford has a Earth Day, Earth Eve festival for their New Bedford. They have a monthly celebration of arts. And so this was April 11th. So I started maybe in October of the previous year, or last October, figuring out with the students, having a series of talks with the students where we were talking about artists who use repurposed material. And we talked about activists. And then we kind of did a bunch of brainstorms of what we can do to make these 30,000 nip bottles be something that was impactful about, banning them, because we wanted to show how many were picked up in the area. So through all these workshops and these talks we came up with this giant shape. It was kind of inspired by, like, if you think of the performative dragons in a Chinese New Year's festival, or like even Falcor and the Never Ending Story, like just like a big performative piece. So me and the students, for the next like 6 months, we welded frames so there was I think there's 20 ribs. They're rib
Oh my
cages.
gosh! Wow.
And 3 really talented freshman students created the head for it, and then the fiber department made a tail for it. But then over the course of time, maybe 100 students helped to thread. We drilled every single one of the milk bottle, 3,000 of them. So we were every
Oh my
week
God.
just drilling, and then strung them onto like this wire, and then we kind of wrapped them and decorated or wrapped or woven like a random weave around all of the ribs. Ultimately, at the end, you could see it. I don't know. You could see it in Fiber Art Now magazine. Gave me a little grant for it, and you could also see it.
Congratulations!
And for New Bedford has it online, but it was pretty much. It took 40 people to perform, one on each side of ribs, and then 3 for the head and 4 for the tail, and it spanned a whole city block.
That's incredible. And those ribs, were they welded from new steel or found steel, or?
They were all from new steel, but right now, as it stands, as you asked, where is it now?
Yeah.
It was put out for, it has gone on a little tour of places, and they had it out for their celebration on the campus. But as of right now, I have to decommission it. So I have to unwrap all the bottles that are strung, which I'll maybe use for something else. What
a project. So disassembling it. Oh my God, what a project that's going to be.
Well, all the metal that's been used in that, the students will use in their art product.
Oh,
So
good, good.
that is like saved for the sculpture department at UMass Dartmouth. So I am not worried about that. It's just the unraveling.
I
And
hope
then
you have help.
yes, there's lots of good helpers that are there.
Okay,
So
good.
that
Yeah.
was a really fun project. It was so fun.
Is it kind of sad to have to disassemble it?
It's I guess it's sad. I did so much work trying to get it to different places. But it takes so much manpower and it takes 2 trucks to move. Um, the excitement of getting it to where it was so good that I wanted to like do that again. But it really takes more than just me to organize something like that. So
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, and then I guess storing. You have to store it somewhere in between its appearances.
yeah, so the head is on display at the school right now, and they have I believe that right now until we disassemble it, it's in a like a storage unit that's on the campus.
Do you think, do you have any ideas yet for those nip bottles?
Oh, I could come up with ideas for that. Like, yeah, they're already drilled, so like it's to me
Right.
that the hard part is done. Like, and
Hmm.
I finally got rid of my tennis elbow from drilling.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh
I'm ready.
no. I tell you, this artist stuff with repurposed material, it's physical work.
It's
We have
physical.
to maintain our strength or do strength training, right?
Sure.
Well, that was very cool. I was so impressed seeing the videos on Instagram, and yeah, I'll be sure to link to all of as many as I can find for that, because
Nice.
that's worth memorializing in some way. So what are
Surely
you
that.
working on now?
Well, I'm trying to clear my head first. I start January 2nd for my MFA program.
Oh, that's quick. Okay.
Yeah, so let's see. So I've been just pretty much working on I'm sending I have to bring a lot of my work to the critique, and I'm sending a lot of my work to a show in New Hampshire at a school that's in New Hampshire. So I'm kind of zhuzhing everything and prepping it for it's the spotlight or whatever.
Right.
And and then for right now, I'm just working on this weaving that I just work on in the background as I just settle down, because I don't know really what's going to happen starting in January with my
Right.
program. So who knows what direction I'll go in. Mhm.
That's so exciting. Oh, so the first thing is a review of work. So you're going to be bringing all your work, and it's going to be in person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how many of you are in this program?
It looks like I think my group of the first year or first whatever residency, it looks like there's about 8 maybe,
Okay.
but I don't know. But there's other people who have been like we're all together no matter which year you're at. So I
Oh,
just don't know
okay.
how many
Interesting.
people are actually get that.
Right.
Mhm.
So you're going to do a review, and then you're going to be doing all sorts of figuring out what you're going to be making. That is so exciting. I'm like, my
Mhm.
my head just starts. There's so many jumbled thoughts, and I'm not even the one who's going to be doing this. Like I'm already
So
thinking
that's
for
why I came in here to my studio to be like, oh, I should start working on something or whatever. And then I was like, I got kind of flustered. Like I don't know like which way to go, because I wanted to hear the thoughts about the work that I have been working on
right.
first.
Yeah. So, and I suppose you also need to sort of clear your calendar for the next 2 years, really, of anything else.
I would say I'm trying. So far, I'm not doing a great job of that, but I'm doing my best. Like I have a problem with, I want to do everything.
Hmm.
So saying, I've been working on saying no. That's a problem. But I've been also working on, I've been also working on not taking on anything, like I haven't applied for any shows or
Right.
anything that's happening next spring has been in the books sort of before I decided to do this.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah,
We'll
because
see how.
really you need to be concentrating on whatever your work you're doing for this. So I
Yeah.
guess you could I guess if you can apply to shows and show your previous work, but you certainly wouldn't have the time to make new work for something else.
Yeah, and also I feel like I'm ready to except for this one new piece that I just finished recently, I feel like I've showed the work that I have often enough that I don't need to like drive things back and forth to shows. I'm keeping the schedule clear for the
Yeah.
spring just
Yeah.
until I see what I'm up against, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense because we can be so, at least I know that I'm eager to show my work. I'm eager to create new things. So opportunities come up and I, I'm really bad at saying no because I'm like, oh, but that's exciting. Then this is exciting. And I mean, I do say no to a few things that I think that have nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'll say no to those things, but most other things, it's like, it's just exciting. So I want to do it all.
I know, I know. And then all of a sudden you look at your calendar and you're like, what did
Yes. What have I done?
I do?
Well, certainly exciting 2 years ahead, and I am superbly jealous of your mass mocha time coming up. That is just going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, I was just there, I guess that was the beginning of November. My
Did you see
daughter,
the plastic bag store?
yes, made it on like the second to the last weekend there.
Good.
And it was
Mhm.
there for almost for like a year or something, but I just couldn't find the time. And finally, my older daughter, now she's home. She graduated college, so she's home. And I was like, I want to do this mother-daughter thing. Now it's like, now it's not just my schedule, it's her schedule. But we were able to do that. And we just drove up for the day. And I was and of course, we got stuck in traffic, and that show that had a specific starting time, and we ran in, and it was
Oh,
10
yeah.
minutes. We were 10 minutes late, and I was like, "Please, please let me in." I drove all the way from New York City to do that.
How is it that that's the same experience I had? I didn't get to see the beginning, like, store
Oh,
because I was also rushing to get there, and I was so nervous because I was like, "I'm so excited to get to see this," so.
yeah, I thought they weren't gonna let me in at all. And
Mm.
I literally was like, I was this close to tears. And I was like, please, can you just call up? And he's like, all right, I'll call up. And then the guy said, yeah, just come up. So
Well, so worth it, right? And
it was
then
so worth it. I mean, we just, snuck in the dark and sat to the side. And I guess it was just that very first portion of it. So, and then we got to experience the rest of it. But I was just like
I'd seen
mind
the film
blown.
actually during 2020, when it was supposed to open. And Michelle Luigi, who you had on a couple times before on your
Yeah.
podcast, she had hosted in Somerville the plastic bag
Oh,
store.
I didn't know that.
And I think and so I got to see it only as a film, so it was more exciting to see it how it was supposed to be seen as the
Yeah.
immersive experience.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I'm so grateful to have been able to see it. It was just, and then just before I went to see it, Robin Furhart did a talk for Beyond Plastics, and she
Mm.
talked about how she made a lot of the film, and that was so fascinating. So I'm hopeful that I will have her on on this podcast as
Well, that
well.
would be amazing. Yeah.
We'll see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, that was an incredible experience, and I hope that your thesis or pre-thesis, whatever you're having at Mass Mocha, will be available for the lay folk to come through and see. Do you know?
Oh, I guess I'll have to wait and find out to see what happens.
Because I will make the trip just for that.
Oh, that would be exciting. Can't
Yeah,
wait to meet in real life. Yes.
I know, right? There's so many people these days that we have friends that are just Zoom friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently met an artist who has been my accountability buddy for almost 10 years. She's in near Vancouver, Canada, And I'm in New York, and we've always only met via Zoom or FaceTime. And then she finally came for a visit to New York City, and we met in real life.
Fun. Yeah.
I know. It's like, oh, wait, you have legs. It's very cool. But I am grateful for all these Zoom things. I was on Zoom prior to the pandemic, but not as much as I am now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, thank you so much. This has been a most fascinating conversation. Is there anything else that I didn't ask that you really are dying to tell me about?
No, I guess that I'm so happy that you're doing all these, because it's really kind of like a cheat sheet for me to go and find these new these artists that are working with different material. I really liked, I can't remember his name. He's the Mexican artist.
Alejandro Duran. Yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed his talk and I enjoyed his work. And so please continue to have these, and I hope you get Robin on. That would be amazing.
So yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm totally loving this, and I have to say that a lot of it is completely just for me, because I'm fascinated by what other artists do, and now I have a direct way of asking. I don't have to be just kind of surreptitiously listening around the corner. I can just ask.
That sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's exciting. So, well, that was such a fun conversation. Thank you for being here for it. And good luck, Rebecca, with your MFA. Thank you. Welcome to season 2 of the Salvage Podcast. I am honored that you are all still out there listening and watching. So please continue commenting, rating, and reviewing and sharing all the podcasts. I am excited to bring a whole new roster of interviews this year, and I look forward to sharing them all. They're such important and exciting conversations, and I hope you are as excited as I am to listen to them. If you're interested in my art, please take a look at artbynatalia.com. If you'd like to learn with me, go to ecoloop.art. And if you're interested in joining the Repurposer Collective, doors will be open in April for Earth Month. So get your name on the wait list so you'll be the first at the door. So that's repurposercollective.com. And I look forward to welcoming you, and I'll see you on the next episode as well. Thank you. This podcast was created, produced, and edited by me, Natalia Korover. Theme music by R.C. Gaida. Find out more about me at artbynatalia.com. Find out about my community at repurposercollective.com, and about my education initiatives at ecoloop.art. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review and share this podcast with anyone that you think might like it. Thanks so much.